The Baltic delegation and Iceland are visiting Georgia today, and they had a joint press conference with the president just before I entered this space. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to listen to them. But it's really amazing the support they're showing. Like yesterday, when the three chairs of the Committee of Foreign Affairs, like Bundestag, Czech Republic, and Lithuania, when they addressed the public on Rustaveli, it was really reminiscent of Baltic presidents Viktor Yushchenko and Lech Kaczynski standing on Rustaveli amid the war days in Tbilisi, as the Russians were advancing on Tbilisi, and that was really moving. And now the Baltic delegation and Icelanders are here, and it's really emotional for us. However, we're waiting for sanctions, one way or another, soft law or hard law or no law. We just want sanctions. Thank you very much, and I'll be taking questions from Helsinki Fella and Ralph and Pixies. Yeah, and I will have to leave in like 20 minutes probably.
Okay, so
well,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead, guys.
Okay, just quick reaction just to the sanctions thing is like, I think it's a little bit stuck in Brussels now, but I mean it is what it is. But I hope and we have to keep pushing, and individual countries like have to keep pushing. But I feel from the European reporting that really Slovak and Hungarian governments are really the obstacle. But my quick question for you, and we can go to other hands also. How do you see that? Going to October, when the election is going to be, how opposition is going to be a big issue. How to avoid that GD is not going to steal another election again? That's my question, maybe. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I suppose there will have to be really big involvement in election observation from abroad, of course, but also from within. I think we will have to train lots of young people to be deployed as election observers at various polling stations. And yeah, just to expose every step of GD's like manipulation of elections. Maybe if we expose the pressure they are putting the population through, and their vote buying mechanisms and bribing, and document it, that's probably going to be very important. We have to press them to have polling stations set up abroad for Georgian voters abroad, because it's not remotely enough, the polls that are already there. So if they don't set up polling stations abroad, if they are having elections in a terrorizing environment, and they probably will, and if they just like I don't know, if they get fully unhinged, then yes, it will start. It would start a round two of everything, basically, because I do not think that at this point the public would uh, would deal with GD for another 4 years. I cannot possibly think that. When I was referring to the 4 years ago, when the opposition boycotted the parliament, part of the population, yes, believed that their elections were rigged, but it wasn't that all encompassing that the people wanted GT gone. So 4 years ago, the boycott was more elite driven. And right now, I think anything that how we would deal with elections would definitely be, again, like very grassroots and very all encompassing. So if the GD attempts to stay in power at the elections, I don't think that the public will have it. And yes, again, as I said, we would have a round two of everything. It will, however, I really hope that the attention that Georgia has got right now will stay there, and that the Western officials understood that if the GD stays in power, uh, that's a disaster. So I really hope that they will be looking at them through magnifying glasses, whatever they do, which was not the case. Didn't used to be the case at previous elections. However, like all this like seems very speculative for me, because anything could happen randomly and spontaneously, and the entire trajectory of all could like change. So maybe they won't even adopt the soft law, and they will push for the hardcore version of it completely. So that would like fully escalate the situation probably, and then I really don't see us getting to elections. So it's just really hard to speculate. I'm just like since this software version is a new development relatively, and I haven't talked about this before, that's why I concentrated
Oh, did we just lose?
on what is
Marika, are you
more or
there?
less likely to.
Marika, your sound is cutting in and out for me.
Increasing sentiment, we're losing independence to Russia. It's not even about EU integration or non-EU integration. It's about existence or non-existence. Yes.
We got that last bit. Seems to have cleared up. Brilliant. Ralph, do you want to go ahead?
Thanks, Oscar. Have a good morning, everyone, and good morning, Marika. 11 May, in the last week, I have a participation Georgia Ukraine room with brother and sister Mamukashvili and with his sister Nona Mamalashvili. Nona Mamalashvili. She's a famous Georgian politician, and Mamuka Mamukashvili, he's a leader of Georgian Legion in the fight of Ukraine. It's many years. There's a lot of discussion, and today I very like that international media, international organization, and foreign countries, especially Western countries, have a much more focusing on in the situation in the Georgia. I see yesterday Sky News, his long hours covering protest in the Georgia is live streaming from Tbilisi. I see that the Guardian post about it, your Bloomberg post, it's so many. And today, in the majority of the Georgian, it's now on the protest. I mean, Georgia population in the 3 million. Many days you go 300,000 people in the demonstrated only Tbilisi, and plus in the Batumi and the Kutaisi and other region, and 22 Georgian universities across the country is a protest against this law.
More than 30 now. Yeah. More than
More
30
than 30 is a big number for, I mean, for Georgia. Almost whole universities, whole students, and also lecturer, professor in the protest. I see that university lecturer taking selfie that whole students now in the join the protest. I mean, students a very huge rule of the protest in the everywhere. And James O'Brien yesterday said that if Georgian government continue provide this law, is a travel ban or sanction coming soon. And I very like that yesterday Germany Bundestag chairman of foreign committee and Czech and Republican Lithuania politician coming to and speaking stand with Georgian protester. I think that is a very moral support with for Georgian protester. And today, Baltic countries and plus Iceland foreign minister coming to Georgia, meeting with Mrs. Zurabashvili, and I very applaud that Madame Zurabashvili, very big voice, is a regular interview with foreign media. It's actually is a good. I think that today foreign countries, I mean Georgia partners, understand that is a GD, is a Ivanishvili or Kobahidze, is a Kalatze. It's not a reliable partner for Western countries. It's a natural partners for Western countries is a Georgian nation. This is a protester. I mean, important support this protester. 85% Georgian population want Euro-Atlantic integration. Also, GD's voters, supporters who vote for Georgian dream. Actually, the rhetorical question is that if okay, 85% won't join EU and NATO, why vote for Georgian dream? Because it's a Georgian dream said that we are want to integration EU and NATO. That's the reason vote for ruling party. I just want to quote that if you want to understand that South Caucasus, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia, reading book Ali and Nino. Ali and Nino talking about that is a love story of Azerbaijan Republic soldier in the 100 years ago, and the love story of Georgian lady who was Ali. He's a officer soldier of Azerbaijan Republic 100 years ago, and Nino she's a daughter of Georgian capitalist aristocrat, and Ali Nino is talking.
Ralph, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I mean, I really, really appreciate your contribution, but do you have any specific question? Because there are two more hands, and then I'll need to run.
I have a question. Yes, and Ali and Nino are talking about that is a South Caucasus part of the Europe. It's a specific question is that what do you think about that? What's the strategy of Georgian opposition? Yesterday, I see Helena Khushtaria interviews Sky News. For me, the Mrs. Khushtaria, one of the brave leader of in the Georgian opposition. No discussion, no doubt that she's a very brave woman. But what about that other Georgian opposition politician? I mean, the problem is that Georgian opposition politician always choose of comfortable zone. I mean, not the take responsibility. I mean, is Georgian population society always is a protest, but it's a opposition politician always comfortable zone dealing with GD. What do you think about that?
Yes, Ralph, you are right. And by the way, I also think that Ali and Nino is a great book for everyone, for at least to understand the Georgian character, at least that. So, as I said about the boycott in 2020 and the so on, I think for the large part of the Georgian political class, it was unimaginable what's happening now because we overestimated our own the checks and balances that our pro-Western population would have on the GD. So oftentimes the GD's malign steps would be downgraded as like, okay, like they are like negotiating or trading with the West or whatever, but it won't be a fundamental change to the country's policy and so on, which is very much the case right now. I don't want to name names or anything, but there are several opposition politicians who are like still backing off from some grand unity. Uh, but I do have the sense, and I hope that it's not my optimism, and I'm like that's saying this, but I think that realistically as well, with more pushing and with internal and external pushing, everyone will finally like sit together. It's not about like sitting together, like it's not that somebody is not talking to others, that's not the case, but I think they're still debating whether what kind of unity would be better, whether like one big pole or several poles. So it's not really the matter of I don't want to sit next to you, but it's just that some people have a different understanding of what form of unity is better than the other. But I think the public is extremely clear what they want. They just want unity, and with some more pushing, I think it's possible to consolidate everyone's opinion in the political spectrum to some one outcome. Um, so I think in a couple of weeks we should see a better picture of what's happening in the opposition. However, I want to underline that everyone there realizes that this is like the apocalypse, and it's no time for any games or anything. And they will ultimately be like agreeing with the general mood in the society, and the advices of our Western friends and partners. If I'm expressing myself clearly, it's just like hard to comment on this when it's slightly in the air still. And yeah, I wanted to say something else about the opposition, and I think I forgot. Nothing major. I'll probably remember it a bit later. So yeah, I understand the frustration right now, but I'm hopeful that everyone will find their way to one common solution. Yeah, I remembered what I want to say. So there's this widespread sentiment that uh, w- that early elections will have to be called in a year or two, because we understand that this is not really elections, this is some sort of a battle, and for proper government and proper elections, it's important to have another elections very soon. So now whoever is elected now, it's seen as a more of a technical and temporary government who will be doing key reforms to prepare Georgia for the EU accession talks. And then very soon we should have elections just to choose parties, not just elections to like remove the Russian government, but normal elections to choose parties and their programs. So that will probably happen in a year or two with snap elections. Thank you very much. And Pixies,
I just briefly one
what is
quote. I very sad that Swiss bank blocked Ivanishvili $2 billion. I proposal that maybe we are charity for Ivanishvili, donate for return Ivanishvili $2 billion. I'm very sad for him.
Yeah, true. However, I don't even know whether that's the point for Ivanishvili. I mean, yeah, he wants his $2 billion back, but that's not his condition, I suppose. He will take the money and ditch all the promises and still continue repressing us. That's not a problem for him. He has ditched us many, many, many times. So yeah, let's hear from Pixies, and thanks, Ralph, for your contribution and insight into Georgia. And then I'll have to run the Pixies.
Yeah, thank you, and good morning all. Can you hear me well?
Maybe you can speak a little louder. I can, but
Okay.
with yeah.
Okay, I will try. So I will keep just one quick question. I have a tons, but I will keep just one technical one. I read in the previous post that you was mentioning that it was a kind this law of a constitutional coup. And I was wondering, and sorry if you already answered that and I didn't see the answer, but I was wondering if there is any possible appeal against this law. There is any legal possibility on that, and what the situation about separation of power between the judicial and executive in Georgia.
So I hope I heard the context of this question well, because I didn't hear every single word. But yes, this is a constitutional coup, because in Georgia's constitution, Article 78, any and all levels of power, they are obliged to do everything in their powers to advance Georgia on the European and Euro-Atlantic integration path. So when everyone is clearly stating that this is not the way to go, this law has no place in the European Union, it's pretty evident that the government is violating the constitution, and it's just unbelievable sight that they are adopting an unconstitutional law with all the police force, and not admitting the opposition members of the parliament inside the session. Like, the theatrics of it is also very much reminiscent of a coup. They're having the government is having a coup, and I think someone linked me a Wikipedia page from the Maidan times, about the self coup, like government itself doing a coup. So, but as for the appealing somewhere, it's just no point. I mean, maybe the track record of procedural things and is a good thing to have, but in terms of actual outcome, it's absolutely pointless to appeal to anyone to the constitutional court, because the GD controls everything and everyone in this country, and all institutions are captured by them. That's the tragedy. None of this would be happening if they hadn't pocketed all institutions. They even, moreover, they sued the president in the constitutional court, and the constitutional court ruled against her because of her visits to the European Union. So it happened this September. She wanted to visit the European capitals to lobby for Georgia's candidate status, but the Georgian Dream government did not trust her anymore, and they didn't want her to speak to Europeans, because they didn't know what she would be speaking to them. So they didn't approve her visits abroad, and she went there anyway with her own money and her own budget. The embassies did not help her. She went there on her own, and she still held the meetings. And the government sued her in the constitutional court on the basis that she needed government's approval to travel there. However, there was also, of course, the counter argument was that the government itself was violating the constitution, because they were not doing everything in their power to advance on the European path. Anyway, the Constitutional Court condemned her and backed the government, and that opened the way for the government to put her impeachment in the parliament. They failed the impeachment vote because they didn't have sufficient majority for an impeachment. But nevertheless, like, this just demonstrates that the Constitutional Court and everything is in GD's pockets. The president is now the only institution that increasingly proves that she is independent from the GD, and increasingly plays a very important role in all this. And she will probably be the umbrella unifying the opposition coalition right now. So the campaign of the opposition against the GD will be under her umbrella, because she is she's seen as like the most neutral, and the person who is not associated with the United National Movement. And some people still have reservations about voting for any composition with the United National Movement in consideration as well. The previous government, Saakashvili's party. So she has a big role to play, and she increasingly demonstrates independence, although for the longest time, many of us had questions about her true loyalties. And the ombudsman of Georgia, he's like not fully GD, and sometimes he has. He's from a different party. He's from Party Citizens, which is often accused of collaboration with the GD by some citizens and activists and some political parties as well. And sometimes his statements are not fully in line with the public demands, but at least like he's not fully aligned with the GD rhetoric either. So the more or less the ombudsman's office is more or less possible to be accessible for the people and the president's office. But the problem is that none of them have actual executive powers. That's the thing. Like the president, of course, she's very symbolic and very like she has the symbolic power, symbolic head of the army. But nevertheless, like neither president nor the ombudsman have any executive powers, and that's the thing. Everything that is executive or legislative or judiciary, it's fully controlled by the Georgian dream, and that's the tragedy. Yeah. But thank you, Pixie, for your so actually that causes sometimes like people are saying, should we sue someone like the violent police in the courts, or should we not sue them? It's sometimes a good case to sue them because you're just documenting how biased the court is, and also it's necessary for the European Court of Human Rights and Strasbourg things and so on. But I think with everything unfolding so fast and so on, I don't think anyone will have a physical resources and energy to put it into the constitutional court matters, because it's a lost cause anyway. Yeah.
Okay, thank you a lot for this very clear explanation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, if any of you have any questions, please DM me, and I will try to answer them there. Otherwise, I will have to be leaving now. It's quite busy day coming. And thank you, everyone, for all your support. And you've been great this whole time. And if not for you, there wouldn't be half of the coverage that we are getting now. So thank you very much, and stay strong. And I'm sure that we're going to win. And by us, I mean, of course, Georgia, but primarily Ukraine, whose heroism has enabled us to have any chance at freedom and victory at all. And thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone.
You too, Marika.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for coming up and
Thank
joining
you,
us.
Marika.
Thank you. Bye. See you at the time. Bye.
So Helsinki fella, quick question for you. What happened to your account?
It's frozen.
Did you do something bad?
I do what I usually do, so I think I'm fully in line. I did what I always do, but just I found it frozen because it's like I don't provide my phone number or something. Just to maybe share something about my past experience. Used to have this account 40,000 followers, but then I discontinue it. So I kind of like use this account that just I make a new one. I don't care anymore about the numbers. So it was frozen, and I feel that I didn't do anything. What I did, I guess, I was slagging off this Elbridge Colby guy who is total, what do you call him? Total loser. Let's put it this way: total loser in a DC bubble. But I just slagging him off, but I didn't. Maybe used some bad words. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, this Twitter and X is anyway is like the cards are stacked against us. NAFO start in Miria, just I don't know what is going on. It's like sometimes I open a new account and then there is I cannot like people, I cannot follow people. It's total BS. What is this X, like doing to some accounts? That we have people like tens of thousands of followers, like Thomas Steiner complaining that he's shadow banned. So like if you follow the reporting of Matt Taibbi, Matt is not very kind of in a right track as far as it comes to Ukraine and Russia, but in a way he was allowed to look at the engine room of Twitter, and they can really shadow ban. I think they have a very nice technocratic word for shadow banning, which is called content filtering or something, which looks very kind of proper in a meeting room in a corporate setting. But this, what it is really is like you can really dial down somebody who is what they do in the X. So I've been using X since 2013, so it's not my first rodeo. You know, it's like it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, at least we are able to function here as an ecosystem of NAFO and Miria. That's great, but I really don't know what is going to happen next with X. You know, it's like this Elon is completely like I don't know if he's a drug addict or what he's doing. He's like I think people close to him are like yes men. They don't want to say that Elon, listen, you have to, you know, like okay boomer, take it easy. They don't want to say. And then some corporate guys are worried about the stock price of Tesla and X. So I mean, it's like and his takes are just completely, you know, like, I mean, you are the richest guy in the world. Why you have to boost your ego with some tweets? That only tells me that your ego is very fragile. It's kind of like middle-aged man problem, that ego is very fragile. I think that's the thing what it is. So sorry about the long rant, but this is a long-winded story about my account being frozen all of a sudden, unexpectedly and very unfairly. And no, I'm not going to apply to some sort of Twitter kangaroo court to get it back. No, I have a new account. So thank you very much.
This is the way. You just keep on going, no matter what. Talking of which, Chef Fella has been released from custody, and he's in the mood to protest again, would you believe? So just wanted to bring that good news as well. So, folks, I suppose after our Georgia update, I should get back to some booms and things, yeah? Because, well, booms and stuff. Sorry, I'm just changing the title. And obviously, full of ideas today. Booms and stuff. So, there has been a explosion. A number of explosions, in fact, at Belbeck Air Base overnight. There also appears to have been something happened perhaps in Sevastopol, Pretoria. Both of those places reported explosions and then suddenly went very, very quiet. So we believe that, well, they said they shot down loads of ATACMS, obviously, of course they did. So we'll see if we can get an idea of what's actually happened around there. But just pointing out that, yeah, they might be having an emotional day today. Now, I've also seen a fabulous video of Russians using Chinese golf carts to supply weapons and ammunition to their forward units in the Kharkiv area. That suggests that they might be running out of armoured vehicles or struggling to put armoured vehicles in that direction. Just noting that if you're trying to supply your front line with golf carts, you might be in trouble. I also popped a couple of things into the nest because we've also heard this morning that unknown UAVs have attacked Tatarstan, more than 1,000 kilometers from the border with Ukraine, and both airports in Kazan and Nizhny are temporarily closed. So I don't know what was over there, but there appears to have been something hit in that direction. Let's just say that all these things, well, it's difficult to keep up. There is actually, a new video as well. I think just coming out, video from Belbeck Airfield ATACMS attack at night. Let me pop that into the nest as well for you guys. So yeah, feel free to enjoy that too. Lovely. Belgorod, what's happening there? In Belgrade this morning, Russian local media reported a shell hitting a private house. 2 persons were injured and taken to hospital. Now, they said, our air defense system worked over the Belgorod region and several air targets were shot down on approach to the city. So he's just basically said, our air defense system hit a private house. No surprise there. Now, there are 2 drones that have attacked a fuel depot location in the Rostov region. And after 2 explosions, there was no fire at all, no injuries. Apart from there may actually be a fire that the locals were reporting on this morning. So, yeah, bit of nonsense there, bit of nonsense. So definitely those things have happened. I'm just having a quick look. Russia says it shot down an attack drone over the village of Verkhny Usalon, maybe in Tatarstan. Well, there's definitely good reason for them to be nervous, it would seem. Now, I don't know if you saw the daily numbers, Ming, but they were still quite large.
Yeah, I think they were, weren't they, Marcus? Yeah, there's artillery's down the touch, but yeah, personnel numbers. It looks like the average has gone up. So 500k day is really zooming towards us.
It sure is, yeah. What an achievement, hey? What an achievement. But yeah, 48 armoured personnel vehicles. That might be why they're using golf carts in Kharkiv. Just saying. So, anyway, let me just have a look. What this is. Something to do with Georgia. Russian Army TV channel. They were spouting nonsense on the street in Tbilisi. And apparently the people around them in Georgia were very annoyed and started blowing whistles and blocking the camera with umbrellas and basically telling this woman to go the heck away. So I think that's quite funny, actually. The poor lady got a torrent of abuse for being a Russian supporter there and trying to talk nonsense. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to try and retweet this. Remember to retweet these things so that other people can see them too. So yeah, that's quite fun. I do actually like that the people around her realised what she was saying and were unhappy and made their feelings known with whistles and umbrellas. Beautiful. Now then, let's have a look. Tatarstan, a little bit of more information. Air Defence has apparently shot down a drone west of Kazan. Now, I'm just trying to see if there's a photo of a shot down drone. There's a photo of something on the ground. I don't know. It looks like it might be something made out of fiberglass. So perhaps they did shoot down a drone after all. But yeah, there's certainly evidence of something going on. Now then, I'm just oh right, okay, I'll save that for later. I've got so much stuff this morning, so much stuff. Let's start with this Kharkiv offensive. They've been capturing quite a few unprepared soldiers, shall we say, Ming, in the Kharkiv area. And shockingly enough, it turns out that these guys are high as heck. And And the 3rd Assault Brigade have reported that any captured guys that they're finding have been given pills before going on the assault. The pills inhibit any sense of danger or risk, and so it's a mix of probably some strong stimulants and painkiller. And it sounds exactly like the sort of stuff Nazi soldiers took in World War II. There's even videos about it. In fact, it was noted that the guys on October the 7th, the Hamas fellas, were high as heck as well, probably on very much the same thing. So whatever it is, they're as high as heck before they're sent running into the battlefield, so that they don't get scared, basically. So sounds like fun times in the Russian army, Ming.
Yeah, amphetamines, I think, is what they give them, or amphetamine is what the Nazis used to give their troops.
Well, it sounds like that's going to be fun times for them coming down off that in captivity. Now, there's a few things that have come out on video, and well, I want to talk about one of them, which is a lady from Belgorod who simply doesn't understand why Ukraine are attacking their civilians. She says, you also have children and families like us. We are all people. Stop this already. It is a tragedy. But you see, she's talking to Ukrainians who've been bombed non-stop by her country for the last 2 years, 2 months and 22 days. So I have a funny feeling that that's going to fall on deaf ears. But what does she think has been going on for the last 2 years? She'll be able to hear the bombing from where she is. And she doesn't think that they might actually fight back, ever. But playing the victim while committing war crimes, just what? Absolutely deluded. Shocking, in fact. That's what horrifies me. It's the fact that she has no idea who she's talking to. It's a different world out there, Ming. It really is. So anyway, after that, I thought I would cheer myself up because my mind had been blown. And I found this little video, which is, well, a group of guys appealing to the Tsar again, but of course, which is pretty dumb. Well, again, world's smallest violin for this bunch of guys. These are Russian occupiers from the internal troops of the Ministry of Internal Affairs for the DPR. Right, so they've recorded an appeal to Putin complaining that since January of this year, they were paid 1,000 rubles for participating. No, sorry, 100,000 rubles for participating. That is, they fought for 25,000 rubles a month, which is around $270, which is not massive, is it? They didn't see any bonuses. Now, they were supposed to get a bonus of 195,000 rubles to share between them if they were in the special military operation zone, which they clearly were, but they didn't get that. So they say they don't even have enough money to return home at this point. In addition, local authorities don't issue them with certificates of combat veteran status. So they can't get any of the perks either because, you know, they wanted you to join Russia. They just didn't want you to be equal. Anyway, they keep saying, you'll receive this at home. But in Russia, outside of the territory of the DPR, they don't even recognize us as military personnel at all, he says. Oh no! According to them, more than 1,000 people from all over Russia have faced this same situation. You know, that's a shame, isn't it? Anyway, Now this group called Cascade, in which these occupiers serve, is actually in the process of disbanding. He states, "We were all fired on the 30th of April. Relatives of eliminated chaps from Cascade write on social networks that they also never received any payments because these guys thought they were going to get paid. They still don't understand it's not a bug, it's a feature. And I just, well, you know, you got legs, guys. Be thankful. Get walking. If you can't afford to get there, go there by Shanks's pony, as far as I'm concerned. And good riddance to you. Go home." So anyway, that's one group who are apparently going home, Ming, and I hope more of that happens. They've just decided that it's not worth this rubbish, and they all got sacked anyway for apparently not being part of the official military. No, you're not part of the official military. All right, well, we'll go home then. All right, bye. More of this. I also heard this morning that Storm Z type soldiers have been fighting with the regular soldiers in the Kharkiv direction. I think it's kind of, you know, after you, no after you. After you, I insist. No after you. I think that's kind of the sort of fighting they've been having. So it sounds like it's going well for them, eh? I'm going to get that drink whether you reply or not.
Yeah, because I was just, my daughter's panicked in London about, you know, she's looking for somewhere to live, and she's just gone insane about panicking, about picking which flat she wants to move into, and it's just driving my wife and I nuts. So it's like she's being a right old pain, massively indecisive. But I was just replying to her. But go ahead, because in the meantime, I will talk about a fun little thing that's going on in Ria Noy and Kommersant. So it's about this guy whose arrest was reported yesterday, Kuznetsov, the head of the main personnel department of the Russian Ministry of Defense. And the headline says, this is from Ria Noy, "The arrested personnel officer of the Ministry of Defense acquired a plot of land and a Volga in 4 years." Right? So it doesn't sound like he's been doing particularly well in this position if he's acquired a Volga. And I'm sort of wondering if, because basically Kommersant repeat this story as well, I wonder if they're not sort of trolling the Russian government themselves, because it doesn't actually sound that bad. So they run through what he's owned over the time that he's been in this position. And yeah, sure, there are some dodgy cars that show up. So, for example, back in 2015, the pair of them, husband and wife, had two apartments, not particularly large, 72 square meters, 156 square meters. He has a BMW X5 and a Toyota Corolla, while his wife drives a Nissan Tiga. I don't even know what that is, but anyway. So then 2016, they've only got the one apartment, the 156 square meter apartment, and they jointly own it. They've got rid of the second apartment. 2017 to 2018, the wife acquires an Audi A7, but that disappears the next year. But now they've got two land plots of 1,500 square meters each. And then in 2019, the wife acquires a non-residential property, so I guess that's like a shop or a warehouse or something, and has an unfinished construction project. And this is when Kuznetsov acquires a Volga, which is described by Ria Noy as a Soviet Volga. Right? So I don't know, maybe he was down on his luck, or maybe he thought he would look more patriotic that way, but that's apparently what he drove.
Well, remember when they were advised to buy Russian? I imagine that that's probably what he was doing. He was like, oh, yeah, totally patriotic. I'll buy a Russian vehicle. So, yeah, I could see why he could end up with something so elite. But, yeah, he's in trouble because he was supporting Shoigu, basically. There's something that I was watching last night, just trying to explain the situation about what's going on behind the scenes. So, in the Ministry of Defense, what happened was Shoigu's support network has been taken out. So basically, anybody who was too loyal to him, like these two generals who got themselves ousted and arrested, one of them receiving the full middle of the night out of bed treatment, which I think is fun, really sends a message, that, doesn't it? Now, apparently, everybody under those guys who was also loyal to Shoigu pretty much quit their jobs, all of them, because of this message. That's what happened almost directly after those two guys were arrested. And the thinking is that they were given a warning that all you people need to go away and find other jobs because we don't trust your loyalty, basically. And it is the security services that are doing this in some way, putting their own people in, which means that the security services there now not only control, you know, their own segment of power, but also they're going to be putting their own men into the military so that they can control the military, so that the military won't rise up against them, sort of thing. So that they know they've got those guys in hand. But what happens when they get too big for their boots? And there's a lot of maneuvering going on at the moment. For example, you would think that Patrushev, his job title is not really very inspiring. It seems like a bit of a placeholder type job title, but his influence is massive. So whereas Shoigu now holds the same position that Patrushev used to have, the balance of power is completely different. Like Shoigu went from having control of the military, from having all these guys who were super loyal to him, where he could turn around and give an order and they would jump and click their heels and run off and do it. No questions. And now what's he got? None of that. He's probably got a bunch of secretaries to help him organise meetings. Certainly none of the power that he used to have. And all the people who were apparently loyal to him have been forced out of their positions because basically they don't want the middle of the night out of bed treatment either. So they've all sort of fallen back. So Shoigu and all those around him who supported him have massively lost power. Whereas somebody like Patrushev has gained a lot of power behind the scenes by, shall we say, maneuvering people on the chessboard. This guy who was arrested and dragged out of bed, can't just remember his name, Timur, whatever.
Yeah, that's Ivanov, I think.
That's the fella. He was the guy who put generals in their positions, basically, head of HR.
Oh yeah, no, that's Kuznetsov.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, head of HR. So taking him out means that they can now appoint all their own generals. And well, who's going to get that job, I wonder, and who's he going to be working for? So there's a lot of machinations going on behind the scenes at the moment. Lots of things that we don't necessarily know or see. But yeah, Shogu's well out of the picture. Poor fella. He's going to fade it. Well, he's faded into insignificance because he's been put there, basically. So don't feel sorry for him, though. He's a bad man. So some of the things that I've been following, Ming, one of them particularly find fun is the labour shortage that's coming up in Russia, because, well, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, announced that there is a worsening situation with the shortage of police officers in Russia. Awkward.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Kind of awkward when you need those guys to control the population, hey? So apparently, one police officer is currently doing the work of 4, and the situation is worsening. So I don't know about you, but I think that might be a little bit awkward because, well, you know, they need those guys, don't they? Or do they? I don't know. They've killed off a lot of the population as well, haven't they?
My experience of police officers in Russia, it was their main purpose was just to collect bribes. So yeah, they're a major income source from further up their own chain.
Oh well, yeah, you've got to remember that as well. You need to have them out on the street collecting their bribes, of course. Now then, I say journalist, has had a shocking cause of death. Urgently hospitalized with internal bleeding from an apartment in the village of Mostrentgen in Moscow, wherever. Anyway, this guy was the editor-in-chief of the DNI RU portal, the chief editor of Bourgeois magazine, and collaborated with Channel 1. He was the author of several internet projects, in particular one called Mr. Parker's Madhouse and Vladimir.Vladimirovich.ru. So this is another propagandist, one of these people that appears to have had a bad cup of tea or something. Maybe he's fallen out of a window. Anyway, just interesting that this particular guy, he's very much of the ilk of Gonzalo L and that sort of person. And I can't imagine what he must have done to upset the Russians, but for some reason he's died. I don't know. Maybe
Who is this Mockus? I've never heard of this guy.
Oh, right, okay. Let me find his details properly. There was quite a write-up on him, and I didn't keep the bit with the write-up on him, typically. So, oh, somebody's been writing an awful lot. Bear with me. Maxim Kononenko. So, Maxim Kononenko. Bear with me while I just find out all the details of him. I was hoping you would know who he was, Ming. So, let's try this. He is a famous propagandist who incited hatred towards Ukraine, justified the occupation of its territories, and the murder of Ukrainians. And, well, tea or window, I'm not sure. It was reported by his wife to Russian propaganda RT, with which he's cooperated in recent years. So he is apparently one of the Kremlin propagandists, and was regularly seen on RT and various other places. Anyway, oh, he was known as Mr. Parker, and according to reports, he suddenly turned yellow, which suggests his kidneys, and then now he's died. Oh dear.
Oh, he's so famous, I've never heard of him. But you will have to look him up now.
Well, when I say he's like Gonzalo Lira, he looks a lot like him. He's really weird. He's got that same sort of like straggly hair. I don't know why they go for that look. Whatever. So, I've got a few things. I told you I've got stuff. So I have some updates on things. But first I need to go to this because this is just delightful. There's been a news report this morning in Fontanka, that one, of a man accused of dismembering his own mother in St. Petersburg. He murdered and dismembered his own mother in Shushuri, reported by the Joint Press Services on May the 14th. Nice. And this is, of course, following, reports in April of a member of the Wagner PMC dismembering a lady in St. Petersburg. And, of course, he was one of the prison recruits and had received a pardon for his previous murders in exchange for his service with Wagner. Well, it seems it's becoming an epidemic. So just thought I would note that dismemberment is apparently the choice of the week. Nice. So anyway, after that delightful interlude, there is a new problem in Russia. Oh no. What else can we add to the bag of massive problems that they have? Well, this. A new Russian medicine shortage. Awkward. You see, there is a foreign drug for the treatment of cancer patients, and it's disappeared from Russian pharmacies. It's called Endoxin. It's produced by Baxter. But it's not because Baxter refused to supply it. In fact, Baxter would happily provide them with the drug. Russia has just refused to purchase it. Drugs are not available in pharmacies, not because the foreign company has left Russia, but because of interruptions in purchases, noted the president of the Association of Oncology Patients. Just pointing out that there were massive budget cuts so that they could fund the war. Well, you can see what that leads to, can't you? Stuff like that. Well, cancer patients, we don't need them. They can't fight in the war. They're a bit decrepit. We'll just let them die. Nice. It's survival of the fittest now, Ming, I think. Sorry, coffee. So, let's just have a look at some other people who are deciding maybe not to do business with Russia anymore. A Finnish sawmill concern called Metsä Group have announced the completion of a transaction to sell all of their subsidiaries in Russia. The Vologda Timber Industry Group of companies have become the buyer of a 100% share of the Russian assets of the Finnish company. I wonder who owns that group. Anyway, the parties decided not to disclose the transaction amount. Fair enough, but that's them. Just wiped their hands of Russia, and guess what? They won't be going back because they'll have probably come off so badly in that sale that it was just a case of go away. Now, Putin's in China today, isn't he, Ming? Do you think he'll actually have to kiss his shoes? He's still wrangling with the child, obviously.
Sorry, on the wrong screen there. Yeah, no. Yeah, so he's in China. That's exciting. And Zelensky isn't in, is it Spain and Portugal? He's cancelled his trip.
Well, there is a suggestion that it was never announced that he was going, but yeah, there's that as well. I don't know. Maybe he was just going to sneak off and go, and you know, like he has done on a number of other trips, he's just appeared somewhere. And if it wasn't for my friend tracking his aircraft, we wouldn't necessarily know until he turned up. But yeah, apparently there's state visits and what have you been cancelled. Well, I think it's important at the moment that he shows some sort of, you know, solidarity, leadership. He's got to be around to know what's going on, hasn't he? And, you know, it's the whole point of he never abandoned his people at the beginning. So, you know, in a time of need, he probably feels it's a good idea to stay local, which I get. So anyway, one of the things I just thought I would bring up, slightly interesting about Putin going to visit China, that he announced the highest level of Russian-Chinese relations in history. However, China just sharply increased tariffs on exports to Russia. Of course, best mates forever, best relations ever. Just pointing that out. What they want in reality and what actually is reality, two usually quite separate things, I've noticed, me.
Yeah, so there's a big piece in the FT today on exactly this, on Russia-China trade and how important it's become, more to Russia, obviously, than it has to China. But it does warn, I'll give you the headline, I haven't read it all, but it's the China-Russia, an economic friendship, in inverted commas, that could rattle the world. So that's what that piece seems to be about.
Sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Except it just sounds silly at this point, when you realise what's actually happening there. Remember I was in the middle of a massive Russian railway update earlier. Well, I'll just add this to it. Just one sentence says so much about the situation in hand. And here it is. However, experts believe that the stability of exports, complicated by sanctions, is more important than the rational use of railways. You pardon? So apparently, rails are to be cleared of fuel, and Russian railways have asked for the optimization of the supply of fuel and energy complex cargo to the east. In the context of a growing infrastructure deficit at the eastern area, Russian railways is increasingly concerned about irrational supplies of energy resources to the east. According to their monopoly, oil products for the Far East are brought from Western regions and coal from Cubas, while the products of local refineries and coal companies in the Far East are mainly exported. So the Russian railways have basically asked the Ministry of Transport to optimize routes, proposing to make coal exports from the Far East dependent on shipments to the domestic market, and to deprive intermediaries who purchase petroleum products for domestic needs from the right to export their fuel. However, experts believe that the stability of exporting, complicated by sanctions, is much more important than the rational use of railways. Ooh. Grab some popcorn, folks, because at some point there's going to be a fight. And it will be over this. Basically, it's every oligarch for themselves. They're grabbing money and forgetting that, well, things still need to work. And they're doing things in such an irrational manner that they're causing themselves loads of logistical problems. And I couldn't be happier, Ming. I don't know if you heard what I said before about the guy who's been put in charge of this. Bear with me 1 second. Let me find the Russian minister who was put in charge of it. Oh my goodness, there's a lot going on today. Oh yeah, there's something about Russian airports as well that I need to talk to you about. Here we go, the reveal. So, the new Minister of Energy is called Sergei Tisviliev or something, right? This particular guy, stop that, sorry, I'm just clicking on the wrong thing. This particular guy owns, guess what? Colmar Coal, the one thing that's being given massive priority on the railways. And so guess what he's going to be doing? He's going to be lining his pockets at the sort of expense of everyone else. So take a moment to imagine just how much potential chaos this guy could cause, skewing logistics back to coal for his own personal gain. He does still have the option to choose not to, but of course, this is Russia, isn't it? And what's it say here? It's official. That he's been approved as the Minister of Energy. Yes, he's definitely in charge of basically what's going to be transported around on the railways, and well, he could cause them so much more trouble just by being selfish. Russia, eh? Iwana, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Very interesting information. This about logistics and prioritization and optimization of the logistics. One of the most difficult things in mathematics applied to economics is transportation. It's a theory, and basically you have to figure out the logistics and how to transport merchandise from different suppliers to different locations, taking into account the distances, the availability, the date when the things have to arrive. It's really complex, and I don't remember much from my university years. But anyway, what it says there is that even if the rail companies are asking for the transportations to be optimized, taking into account from where to where they are going and who is needing them, and east should deliver to the east and west should deliver to the west, which makes sense. Basically the conclusion is, well, we have to export. So it doesn't matter we are losing money, it doesn't matter we are consuming more diesel than necessary, because I don't think that the Russian railways are electrified, at least in the east, or maybe some of them, but not all of them. We have to talk with Peter Hedderly about this. So it doesn't matter that we are consuming more fuel than it needed. It doesn't matter that we are spending more time that is necessary to deliver. We have to export. So shut up, shut up with your ideas of optimization of the logistic. We need to export from anywhere to anywhere, and that's it. Which is on the short term, probably it makes sense because they need to export, they need that money. On the long term, it puts stress on already stressed
Did I lose you, Iwana? You just went very quiet all of a sudden.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it.
So yeah, I wanted to say that maybe in the short term it makes sense because they need to export and they have to get that money. In the long term, it puts a stress on the entire logistic apparatus of the Russian Federation, and it doesn't make sense from the economic point of view. It doesn't make sense. So to this equation, you have to add the oligarchs, as you just have, which have their own interests. So they are not interested for the fact that they are consuming more that is needed, as long as they can make a profit. And about coal, I believe that the coal goes to China. So probably this is one of the deals that is made, you know, at the high level. Deliver coal to China, no matter what, because you know we need China. So yeah, maybe Ming can comment on this. Too bad that Will is not here. Maybe he would have something to say.
Well, I think Peter is popping in for a little bit this afternoon, so that's you know, you can always grill him. He doesn't think the situation is all that bad, but he said, you know, that they are quite competent at upkeeping their railways and probably also their locomotives. But I don't think he fully grasps how they completely disbanded their maintenance section. And we're doing no real maintenance for nearly 20 years. Just, you know, fixing things that broke, not doing any preventative maintenance. And that kind of causes problems. A bit like this, Ming, you'll love this. This is one that's right up your alleyway, or in your skies, in fact. Russian airlines have complained about the deterioration of their fleets and have asked the state to help with purchasing used aircraft for them to use in future. And the government has been pulling from the National Welfare Fund to facilitate the purchase of leased stolen aircraft. You know, National Welfare Fund, that's sort of like the slush fund that they pay into with revenue from the government. They use it to pay off budget deficits and all of that. But of course, it keeps going down and down, and they hold a pile of it in Chinese yuan, which is obviously not ideal for them. But yeah, so that's getting squeezed from all sorts of directions too. Ioana.
Yeah, so logistic problems everywhere, even in the aviation. I just wanted to comment still on the railway thing. It's true that the railways are low maintenance, so you don't need to make a lot of things for the railroads and so on. So it's kind of easy to maintain the quality. It's easy to repair. It's just, you know, put some rails and. But the problem is not the railways per se. The problem is the fleet of cars, rail cars that they have. There is already a shortage of cars. I know that we have seen reports about the price increasing for transportation inside Russia because there is this shortage of cars, and you know, the problem with the ball bearings and other types of maintenance, it must play here too. So yeah, even if they are low maintenance, that doesn't mean that there are problems. And on a long term, with the sanctions, yeah, the problems will be even bigger.
Oh, I'd also just like to reiterate the call to not fly anywhere on a Russian airline, because I think that's important.
So on the thing about airlines and the National Welfare Fund, right? The interesting thing about that is the airlines appealing to the fund to acquire second-hand aircraft. And the reason I say that is that actually, as things stand, what they're meant to be doing at the moment is investing 3.2 billion in an $11 billion project to build 600 civilian Russian aircraft. And clearly, the airlines aren't liking the sound of that project, or for whatever reason, maybe delays, maybe the aircraft are rubbish. You know, you never know. So it sounds like the airlines are actually complaining about the current policy. You know, build our own.
Well, I've got a few reasons as to why they would complain about that. You see, their domestic airline production has come across a few snags. One of them being that they can't really do it. They've tried to do replacement of, you know, internal replacement of the parts and stuff that they would have got from the West. And they're actually 6 tons overweight. So they haven't quite got that right. Also, the domestic aircraft production has currently been put back and put back and put back again, and is currently 10 years behind schedule, Ming. So that's probably why they don't have an awful lot of confidence in it, I would think.
I'm not surprised at all, Mockers. I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Yeah, these are all the little things that add up and add up to, well, they waste an awful lot of money trying to create aircraft that don't get off the ground because they're too damn heavy. I don't know. They should have just put wings on a larder and said, nah, can't do any better, because it would have saved them an awful lot of cash. But there you go. So Kuznetsov, the update here, the head of the personnel department of the Ministry of Defense. This is apparently what he received in the way of bribes for property services. So totaling 30 million. 30 million rubles, apparently, that he received from a Krasnodar entrepreneur called Ria Noy, apparently. So they went through his house by the looks of things, and they found a bribe totaling 30,005,000 rubles from this Krasnodar entrepreneur. Don't know how they know. Maybe it came with a note. Anyway, for assistance in concluding government contracts for the provision of hotel services worth 372 million rubles. Oh, you can understand why they would pay out for that, yes. According to investigators, the businessman purchased and registered land in Krasnodar for the wife of a military official and built a residential building on it with an area of more than 1,000 square meters. Oh, how decadent. The case of Kuznetsov is being processed by the same unit of the main investigative directorate of the investigative committee of the Russian Federation as Deputy Minister Timur Ivanov. Investigations are not formally connected. Yeah, apart from the fact that they were both Shoigu's loyal friends. So, according to some reports, a special team is being formed in the investigative department, which will investigate all similar cases of high-ranking military personnel. Get your popcorn out, folks. It's not over. The purge continues apace. I wonder if they're going to leak videos of this search like they did with Prigozhin and what they'll find in his house. Wonder if this guy has a nice collection of wigs as well. Anyway, the investigation and the FSB, meanwhile, are checking for involvement in other corruption-related crimes and are preparing for new investigations against what they say are major military officials. Oh, how major? I wonder. Anyway, there you go, Ming. So purge is continuing apace. Awful lot of backstabbing going on. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, where will it all end, Mockers? I mean, how long will they keep this going for?
Well, let's just say we're watching from above the blanket right now. We know that the Bulldogs are fighting under it. And sooner or later, we'll see when the bones start flying out, hey, who wins? But yeah, so there's definitely a massive internal power struggle. A number of influential groups, shall we say, have lost out. And there are a couple of other influential groups who are making the most of the situation, I would say. And we will see where it all ends up when the music stops. Stephen, go ahead.
Many thanks. Good morning, Ming and Mokos. Mokos and Ming. Always love your humor in the morning, Mokos. Fantastic. Don't know how you do it actually. Anyhow, yeah, I don't have very much to say. Just on the Kuznetsov case, I'm sure that everybody, well, maybe not. Perhaps there are people who are listening who think that alleged bribe accepted was the real reason for the arrest. But as a matter of fact, corruption is so thorough throughout the top of the power vertical. That's how they got there. That it is universal. He might as well have been accused of possessing a pair of socks, for all that it matters comparatively to the others. And I mean, we know this by many means. Some people might be skeptical, but if so, then they should. They should remember the case of Litvinenko, who was murdered by the Russian government in London. How do we know he was murdered by the Russian government? Because he met two Russian government officials, and his tea apparently was sweetened with a rare isotope of polonium, which can only be manufactured through advanced nuclear processing, and there are only a tiny number of states in the world capable of doing that. And of course, we actually found the contamination in the restaurant on the table, and the accomplices, at least one of them anyway, later admitted it. What was Litvinenko's crime? Well, he was a senior FSB officer, and his brief at the time, and he actually was a believer in Russia. He thought that Russia was turning a corner in the 1990s, and was a young idealist that Russia could change. And one of the things that he was fighting for, just as Ukraine is fighting for now, was to rid Russia of the corruption which riddled its system. And this young, fresh-faced officer, because he was quite high-ranking and influential at the time within the department, rising star, was able to bring a brief to the then relatively recently appointed, fresh, new, shiny president, Putin, who, in his first and second term, looked harmless enough-ish, who ignored, well, his record as a KGB agent. But in any case, of course, Litvinenko himself was an FSB agent, successor to the KGB. And so he wasn't particularly uncomfortable with that, and had a personal meeting with Putin in which he presented a dossier which was precisely an accounting of the bribery and corruption in the upper echelons of the power elite, for which he thought he would get support from Putin, and maybe even promotion for such excellent work, and that Putin would be grateful and take action on behalf of Russia to rid Russia of this scourge. But that's not what happened. He wasn't immediately arrested, but it was made very clear then and there that Putin did not wish. Look, I'm going to have to continue this in a moment. Apologies, I have to answer that. But he was murdered by him instead. Fill it in, Ming.
Life just gets in the way, doesn't it? How rude. Ivana, go ahead, my dear.
Hi, Marcus. I found an article on Commerson that is quite interesting. It's a little bit convoluted, so bear with me. I'll try to make it shorter. The idea is that SVO participant, so a participant to the special military operation, asked for his criminal case to be dismissed, actually, and he was refused. So his name is Andrei Zhbarev. He was detained on the territory of the DPR, so in Donetsk, and arrested on charges of accepting bribes. He participated in hostility as a part of a formation named Cascade of the internal troops of the Ministry of the Internal Affairs of the Republic. So he was investigated for several bribes, including bringing things like mobile phones into colonies of prisoners and receiving money from others. But what is interesting about this is that, and I'll quote from the article, being a participant in the hostilities, he decided to take advantage of the changes in the Code of the Criminal Procedure, which were introduced on March 23 this year. The legislator supplemented the Article 208, which regulates the grounds for suspension of a criminal case with a new paragraph. So the criminal case should be suspended if the defendant was called up to serve in the armed forces of the Russian Federation. So we know about these changes in.
Oh, how rude. She just got disconnected.
I think we lost you, Anna, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah. I just see her suddenly disconnected. So perhaps she got a phone call or something.
She's showing on my screen, but with the mic open. But
yeah, that's just a ghost. You're seeing ghosts. I know. Yeah, you're not dead, I hope. Ioana, I see you back as speaker. Are you back? Nah. Okay, never mind. I've completely lost the thread. What should we say as well? Oh yeah, Cascade. Cascade Group are these DPR guys, and they've basically been told, yeah, we decided you're not part of the Russian army anymore. And these guys have gone, oh, okay, well, if you don't want us, we'll go home. So they are apparently now, after doing a video to Putin saying, we've never been paid and we hate it here, they want to go home, Ming. And like I say, they probably should start walking, because it's going to take them a while. Yeah, Ioana just got dumped from the space. How very rude. Go ahead, Ioana.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. It's very unstable right now. So the conclusion is that his case was dismissed. So he continues to be investigated because they concluded that those DPR troops do not belong to the Russian Federation. So the article in the criminal code that is like exempting them from having, consequences to their doings does not apply. So basically, DPR is part of the Russian Federation when they want to, but is not part of the Russian Federation when they don't want to. So it's up to them to decide when it is and when it is not. So that's the point of my coming with this article.
Yes, these guys have basically been had over, and who would have known, hey, that the Russian Federation would lie and cheat and not pay them the money that they were promised, and then just disown them? Who would have known? Oh no, you're troublesome now. We don't want to pay you anything. So no, you're not part of our army. Of course you're not. No, you were just here as volunteers helping out, weren't you? See ya. I just think it's funny that they're starting all this sort of like arguing amongst themselves, letting each other down in such terrible ways. I think, they need to do more of that. Absolutely pleased to see them squabbling amongst themselves. It shows there's more internal problems, doesn't it? Lovely. I enjoy that. Jenny, I see you've popped up. Did you want to add something?
No, I'm getting ready to walk my dog, and I don't know, it can take 10 minutes and it can take like 25 minutes. And so I wanted to be on stage in time for co-hosting. Thinking ahead a little bit.
Well, enjoy your dog walk, and I will give us the latest defence intelligence update from the UK MOD. Here it is for the, is it the 15th? Yes, the 15th of May all day. So let's have a look what they've got to say for themselves today. 14th of May 2024 was the 70th anniversary of the adoption of the UNESCO Convention for the Protection of Cultural Property in the event of armed conflict. As war in Ukraine continues, Russia's bombardment of cities through long-range aviation strikes and glide munitions have a devastating effect on Ukraine's cultural, historical, and religious heritage. Ukraine's Minister of Culture and Information Policy states that as of the 2nd of May 24, a total of 1,987 cultural institutions have suffered either complete loss or damage since the start of the full-scale invasion. The ministry also estimates that as of the 6th of May 2024, 1,062 cultural heritage sites have been destroyed or damaged since the start of Russia's invasion. And UNESCO has separately verified damage to 129 religious sites as of the 10th of April 24. Yes, hello, Kat. In mid-February 24, UNESCO estimated Russia caused $3.5 billion worth of damage to Ukraine's cultural heritage, which will require 10 years and $9 billion to replace. Except you can't replace the historical importance of something, can you? You can replace the building, but you can't replace the history that was attached to it. Difficult. Anyway, in mid-February, as the war continues, Russia's military apparatus will continue to cause damage to Ukraine's historical and cultural heritage, and also their environmental situation as well. Excuse me. Sorry, needed to belch. So, yeah, the massive ongoing destruction to everything that makes Ukraine, Ukraine. You know, the environment, the history, the culture, the religious aspect of their society that, you know, Russia's tried really hard to overtake and usurp. Same as I think they've done in a number of other countries, you know, the Russian Orthodox Church itself. It is kind of a cover, isn't it, for them to just feed spies into countries. Yes, that's the one, spies. Yeah, there's a point to be made there that it's really rather important that we remember that Russia is not just murdering people, they're murdering the entire culture. They want to...
There's a related point to this, though, Mockers.
Yeah?
Sorry, there's a related point to this, and you'll remember sort of fairly early on in the war, the full-scale invasion, lots of Russian mill bloggers were demanding that Kiev be completely blitzed. But of course they can't, right? Because so much of Kiev is like, you know, the origin of Russian Orthodoxy. You know, the St. Sophia Cathedral, for example, if they did something to that, the likes of Tsargrad TV would just be utterly outraged.
You've got a point there, yeah. Yeah, I would imagine it's very difficult to do this sort of, you know, pretzel logic. So, yeah, it's very pretzel logic-like. Now then, just with regards to the internal situation in Russia, I've been looking for this because I knew I had something else on it. It was noted that Viktor Zolotov, the head of the Russian National Guard, was asked why his department have received 36 tanks and artillery pieces. And he said, "It is necessary for us to have heavy weaponry, tanks, artillery and mortars. It is an important component for fending off the enemies, both internal and external." Oh, hello. He said, "We have already defeated internal revolts. One happened. It practically took place. Thank God it ended the way it did." So The National Guard, they're the internal military force of Russia that report directly to Putin. And rumours are flying around about all sorts of coup attempts. And I'm just saying that, you know, it might just be a measure of nerves. The chess game that they're playing is getting pretty messy at the moment. And I'm going to say that it's difficult to know who to trust. And, well, at some point, you're going to trust the wrong person. I think that just so many mafiosa machinations going on that it's difficult to really know who's who. And you know what? It's good. It's great for Ukraine. Putin's paranoia will only lead to people in the government not knowing where they stand. And in turn, that leads to a corrosion of their loyalty. Because if you treat people like you don't trust them, they eventually start to feel as though, you know, they might be up for the chopping block. I mean, look what's just happened to Shoigu and all his clan. So, yeah, people are going to be going into survival mode. And, well, that's never a good thing, is it, Ming?
The more of them going into survival mode, the better. We want them utterly paranoid to the point where they're just paralyzed by it.
Absolutely. That is exactly what I'm hoping for. And, well, this may actually be something that's going to happen in the end. Genesis Man, my lovely, welcome up.
Morning, Mockers. Morning, Ming, rather, sorry, and Stephen. So, yeah, just following, it's a good point, Mockers. Just following on from that. And I've looked at quite a few different places of information, but I can't find out, and just wondered if anybody had a thought around. What was Shoigu's, what's he done wrong? Suddenly he's gone, and all his commandos and little generals are being replaced. What was the threat? Does anybody know? Just throw it out there.
Well, you see, for many, many years, Shoigu has sat at the top of a very lucrative corruption scheme. And of course, that money is now needed for the war. So basically, his only crime was enriching himself when, you know, that money is needed elsewhere by the government. And also, just let me gesture generally to the state of the way the war is going in Ukraine. He hasn't exactly covered himself in glory, has he? So sidelining him was, I think, the least embarrassing option. You don't want to take him out as in take him out. You want to just remove him from any possible power, and he will know the error of his ways, sort of thing. But nothing so drastic as him, you know, just being thrown out of a window. Now, it's possible that may happen in the future to him because, you know, he has effed up in major ways. But really, the only problem was he was standing in the way of Putin and an awful lot of revenue, which he wants elsewhere. So that's basically it, Genesis Man.
Yeah, basically, Genesis Man, my take on it is that he was too good at his job, which was running a corrupt peacetime MOD. On top of everything else, adding to the mix that, you know, Shoigu isn't actually Russian. So he's kind of easy to get rid of in that sense. You know, he's from Tuva. So, you know, it looks like Putin's doing the necessary thing, putting a technocratic economist in charge when the pennies count in wartime.
Thank you, Ming. Because I agree with you. I think he's got a stone-walled appointment with a window, or an aeroplane that suddenly goes boom at some stage. And Ming, I'll just gently point to history. Putting an autocrat and an economist in those sort of positions doesn't bode well in the outcomes of wars, as history teaches us.
Well, indeed, yes. you know, they love to live in some sort of historical situation, don't they? They just don't learn the lessons from it. Weird. One
Hasn't
thing,
am I right in saying there hasn't Shoigu retained some kind of oversight role over the MOD in his capacity on the Security Council?
not really. No. Not really. No. All his power has been taken away. He can turn up and give his opinion, but do you think anyone's going to listen to him at this point? I don't think so. Yeah, so no, I totally believe he's had all his power taken away. The only people now who do his bidding are secretaries. My opinion, of course, but yeah, he has been totally sidelined, thrown off the top of the power tower, as it were.
Yeah, he might do a Medvedev and get really noisy on X.
Nah, you never know. Does he have a VPN, Ming?
Yes, of course. Step one: get yourself a VPN, and one that isn't banned by the Russian state.
Oh, exactly. I just, I love this stuff. I really do. Now, we talked yesterday about all these foreign mercenaries that Russia keeps recruiting, and how they're coming from, I think there was 21 different areas in the world, in 7 countries, that they were basically feeding foreign fighters into the meat grinder from. And so Russia's growing reliance on foreign mercenaries does indicate, well, what I said, that there was some sort of desperation going on. If you've got all these millions of men to recruit at home, why are you doing this? Because this is not necessarily efficient, shall we say. And also, you get all sorts of people who get fed up with being duped. I mean, you know, the Russian people themselves, those guys, they don't tend to turn around and shoot their commanders as often, do they? But these guys do. Anyway, where was I? So it indicates some vulnerabilities and suggests that the recruitment process may be more challenging than officially acknowledged. Indeed. So, Petro Yatsenko, a spokesperson of Ukraine's coordination headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war, stated that Russia is increasingly engaging foreign mercenaries from nations facing economic difficulties within their war in Ukraine. Since the onset of the full-scale invasion, Russia has enlisted individuals from countries like Nepal, Somalia, India, Cuba, and a number of other nations to participate in their failed invasions. And this is because they're continuing to refrain from announcing another mobilization at home. Now, they are still doing sort of covert mobilizations of, oh, look at all these migrants working in this factory, we better just get them signed up, sort of thing. But there's no mobilization that recruits Russians specifically, you know, the Moscow boys sort of thing. And we've seen quite a lot of them wandering around, you know, causing trouble, being drunk at home and stuff. And I just feel as though, you know, they're probably better off causing trouble at home. Anyway, so Russia has refrained from announcing another mobilization, resorting to recruiting Russians and foreign individuals from developing nations. The country also had to raise signing bonuses to attract recruits in the first place, reflecting their difficulties in recruiting and also their need to replace losses as quickly as possible. It will be intriguing to observe how long Russia can sustain the approach of recruiting from abroad. But at some point, they may need to resort to announcing a new mobilization or they will intensify the recruitment of foreigners, because they're going to have to, basically. And again, that suggests to me that these problems in recruiting from home are indeed quite acute. How many volunteers are going to go rushing down to sign up when they see the images and problems that are coming back from the front? I don't know. I wouldn't be keen to go rushing into that, put it that way. Now, in Russia, apparently, you know how they like to say that they're going to do something, but they don't actually manage to do it? Well, in July 2022, they announced all 83 oblasts were going to set up battalions with volunteers. And it failed completely, because in some cases, not even 100 people signed up voluntarily. Russians will only fight for money or because they are forced to do so, regardless. So that's basically, again, another example of them also being terribly racist and putting foreigners' lives much lower priority compared to its own people, which is virtually nil anyway. So yeah, we've got next to nil value of the Russian people and absolute nil value of anybody else. So yeah, it's all going very well. All going well. Loads of volunteers. Yeah. So I've got a little chat with one of these chaps, and he is from, let me see, Yakutia. There we go. So this is what he said about his recruitment. To be honest, I went to make money. Yes. I thought I would stand at the checkpoint as I was told. They deceive everyone like this. They tell everyone there are checkpoints to manage. At the second line, at the third line, at the fourth line, somewhere over there in the city. You can go. Just stand right there. You won't need to fight. Just keep going forward. You'll find it. The commanders don't even consider us people. They treat us badly. They say, who cares if you die? Go do it. This man is called Nikiforov. Love that. Asyan Ayalovovich. Okay. Born the 24th of April 1998 in Sakha, Yakutia. Now, he is from a storm detachment, and he claims that when signing the contract, he was promised he would just stand at checkpoints. He underwent good training, however, at the training ground in Uspensk, and he was a guide at the position. So we are the ones that say where it's dangerous to go. The mortar is working here. Don't go there. But they answer, still move forward. If anybody who is a 500th, so that's an escapee, is found, he will be sent on the assault without any armor. They don't even give him a helmet. They give him 2 grenades, and that's it. And say, you will get everything else you need in the battle. Go find it. Oh, rude. Doesn't even sound like they gave him a gun. No, just 2 grenades. Off you go. Well, still got weapons, mate. You could always, chuck them in the direction of the commander. Anyway, that is just a little note of, again, how they're duping people. Yeah, that checkpoint, mate. It's just over there. Yeah, just keep walking towards those guns. Yeah, I know there's artillery raining down, but there is a checkpoint. You just stand there. Don't worry. You'll be fine. Bit cheeky, innit? Just keep walking, mate. You'll find it eventually. Yeah, at some point, you've got to stop believing that nonsense, haven't you? I don't know at what point you think that you're being told porkies, but it seems to take them a long time to figure it out. Yeah, anyway, never mind. So, let's have a little look at what else I've got, unless you've got something you want to bring up, Ming.
Just quickly, I was going to talk about, because this trip to Spain and Portugal that Zelensky was meant to be on, which he's now cancelled, he was apparently meant to sign a security guarantee deal with Spain. It seems to have become terribly fashionable because apparently even Luxembourg is signing a security guarantee deal with Ukraine. And you've got to wonder what that's all about because they've only got 900 soldiers in their army. I guess it's probably more economic because they've got like the European headquarters of Sogaz and Gazprom in Luxembourg, and Rosneft too, I think. So that kind of makes them more significant.
Indeed. Sorry, I just I didn't actually hear your last few words there, so all I heard was more significant.
Yeah, so it was about Luxembourg signing a security cooperation agreement with Ukraine, which seems a bit pointless, other than if you look at them maybe economically, where they've got the European headquarters of Sogaz, Gazprom, Rosneft, those kind of people. So I don't know. It just seems like they're jumping on the bandwagon here.
Well, are we surprised? Are we really surprised with the situation? No. Hello, Blythe. You've popped up.
Hi, yes.
Hi.
I've never spoken on one of these. I don't speak often, so please bear with me. I think it's very interesting. I really like listening to this because we're hearing about the psychology, the personality types involved are usually the malignant narcissists and those completely devoid or conscious deficient, or they could not do these behaviors. They could not do this to people or slaughter people or dehumanize an entire nation. That takes no conscience. And in addition to that, malignant narcissists are usually sadistic and Machiavellian. And there are a lot of traits that enter into it. And you all are talking about all of them. And I just wanted to throw in the psychology. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and joining in. Always welcome to come and chat to us. So yeah, if there's anything in particular you wanted to add or ask, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Blythe, so you found the mic button. Yeah, sorry, I was just worried you might not know about that, to switch your mic on and off.
I found it again.
Awesome. Booyah, my lovely, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Blythe, I think you're absolutely correct. And welcome to the speaker spot. It's wild up in these spaces, but we appreciate your voice and welcome.
Thank you.
Ooh, Ming. I've just been handed a statistic. Would you like?
Is this like how long it would take a snail to get to Berlin?
Oh no. This is a more interesting statistic. You see, 117 Russians have now been murdered by returning Wagner ex-prisoners and members of the special military operation. It's almost as though it's like Prigozhin's revenge. I kind of like that. But yeah, it goes to show what I said right in the beginning, that they are going to import themselves some real problems. And look at that, it's become a statistic. So there you go. When it becomes a statistic, you know that they are counting it as a problem, shall we say. Love it. There have been a lot of things in the newspaper about this as well. Various news articles that, you know, these terrible people being back in the community. The regular folks don't like it. Now, I know we're all keeping our eyes peeled on Kharkiv at the moment, but Ming, there's battles ongoing inside Belgorod, and the Russians are keeping very quiet about it. But it would appear there's actually what I'm thinking is an artillery battle inside Belgorod. In fact, the place is called Sechetinoovka. Sechetinoovka, maybe. It's having fun right now anyway. So just so as you know, that place that I can't pronounce is also joining in the war, in the grey zone. That's the one. That's what I was thinking. So,
Who's doing this? Do we know, Mockers? Is it the usual suspects, the Free Russia Legion?
It may well be the Free Russia Legion. They did say that they were involved in repelling the Russian attack in that area. So, yeah, I mean, you know, if they could sneak in behind them and cut off some of their supply lines, that would be very helpful, wouldn't it? It would certainly get around the, you know, can't actually throw munitions at them issue. So, just to note that Russian artillery range is around 45 kilometers, and they're not actually within range of Kharkiv yet. They're about double. No, they're not actually. Hang on, let me just see. They're about just over that, but yeah, it's not good. We don't want them to make any more progress in, otherwise they will soon be in artillery range of Kharkiv, and you know what happens when that happens. The whole place just gets destroyed. So, yeah, that's something that we need to keep an eye on. But it's worth noting that there is a lot more going on in Belgorod. You see, the Russians obviously intended to try and enter Kharkiv region from another direction, create a bridgehead from this Russian village of Sechetnovka, and there Ukrainian scouts discovered an accumulation of reserves and ammunition depots. The 92nd Assault Brigade have attacked the enemy reserves in this area and forced them to abandon their plans. Nice. So there you go. Ukrainians 92nd hit the enemy reserves, disrupted their plot. Nice move, folks. Yeah, just being able to hit them back, it's, you know, I'm actually of the opinion right now that it's better to ask for forgiveness than for permission, but it would actually cause them problems in the future diplomatically. So Ukraine's really got one hand tied behind their back in this area. And I think one of the things is there is a diplomatic mission to America at the moment to try and deal with the... Oh, sorry, I'm just going to mute you there, Blythe. Just in case you're hot micing on me. I have this thing, I don't want to hear anybody going to the loo. Unless it's me, obviously. Everybody's heard me go to the loo, unfortunately. I hang my head in shame, yes. But this is something which I think is important, that Ukraine is saying, yeah, it's awesome that you've given us weapons and thanks so much and we love that, but why is there this imaginary blockade along the border where we can't use them? Because that's really frustrating. We can literally see them forming up and we can't do anything about it until they actually enter our land and start murdering people. That doesn't seem very fair, does it? I mean, if that was us in the UK and we could see Russian ships collecting off the shore in international waters, you know, preparing to attack us, what we're going to do? We're going to sit there and, you know, have to wait until they actually start firing bombs at us before we can respond? No, we're not. We're going to be out there with the Navy and the Air Force telling them to bugger off, aren't we? So, yeah, it's, you know, something that annoys me ever so slightly. What are they going to do when they've got F-16s? Are they going to go, oh, well, yeah, you can only fire this bomb over the border, but not that one? You know, what a load of balls, as far as I'm concerned. Big, hairy ones. And so, yeah, there is a concerted effort to get this decision changed. That, you know, Ukraine, look, they've been really trustworthy with everything that they've said with regards to, you know, the use of other people's munitions within Russia. And it's unfortunate that, you know, they've got a absolute smorgasbord of targets and they've got the weapons that could hit them. Just not allowed. And that makes me a little bit sick. It really does. And especially when they're literally just there, just over the border, literally waving at you, and you can't do anything. Yeah. But I don't know. Nobody else will put up with that crap. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, oh, let me see what's going on here. Oh, this morning, a little old man finally decided to leave Vovchansk himself after refusing to leave and refusing to leave. He packed up his 3 dogs and walked 15 kilometers until he was picked up by somebody. What did he have with him? His most valuable belongings? His personal documents, photo albums, and food for his pets. That was all he needed. And he said the only reason he stayed in Vovchansk to the last moment was because he thought it would be difficult to evacuate his pets. And the reason he evacuated in the end, because the Russians rolled in with a tank and put a tank round directly into his house. That would probably be a good reason to leave. Yeah. So this is what happens while we stand about twiddling our thumbs and saying, no, you can't possibly hit them back over there. No, you've got to wait until they come and destroy your homes before you can actually fight back. And so I'm wondering if we can get some maybe American fellas onto this booyah. Because I know this is something that they would like to, you know, always like to support Ukraine in any way they can. And if the Ukrainian government are literally sending people to try and talk some sense into, you know, whoever's decided upon this, I think giving that voice some support and pushing that, you know, to be important, I think that would be a good idea. So yeah, if you guys want to get on that like we did before with, you know, emails, letters, support, be polite, obviously, but yeah, we support Ukraine being able to defend themselves properly. Goodness. Booyah?
Yeah, there was a bunch of us that were kind of having a discussion about this yesterday and just kind of trying to figure out what the next move on that one is. So yeah, I guess probably TBA on that one. I think the big thing at the moment, which is kind of parallel to Ukraine, is what's going on in Georgia for sure, and trying to get the sanctions and Magnitsky Act triggered. We think that that's probably going to be the best thing. Is trying to get that triggered in Georgia, and then also we're coming up on. We'll be back at it for the next aid package towards end of summer because they'll be voting on that. again towards the end of the year, just like the last one. Unfortunately, we waited 6 months for that one, so we're not going to let them get much sleep once that comes up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, Georgia is very important right now. We really need to amplify their voices, but I would like, you know, a decision to be made that Ukraine are allowed to defend themselves, especially when it's just, you know, literally over the border. They can see them forming up, getting ready to come and attack them. And they're like, we could take them all out with just a couple of these, but we're not allowed. And I find that so frustrating. Booyah.
Super frustrating, for sure. I was talking to somebody and they think that that's because of some agreements that we still have with Russia, the US. So, yeah, that's kind of a bit of a sticky wicket. We're also, we're also just kind of questioning what changed, right? Because last year, Britain said no storm shadows in Russia, right? And then they've relieved that, it appears. I don't know, maybe one of you lovely Brits can correct me on that if that's incorrect. But something changed with the British government and storm shadows.
Oh, sorry, Booyah.
No, you're fine.
I think the British government pretty much said you can use them anywhere, and it was hinted that, but please don't, sort of thing. You know, they were like, you can use them anywhere, but you've got plenty of targets within Crimea you can use them on right now, sort of thing. And then they went, no, actually, use them anywhere you like. See if we care. Booyah.
Yeah, we're just wondering what changed. And we may not get an answer to that, but it's just interesting for, I think, kind of our own movement towards our government to getting this sorted. It would be interesting to know what changed, because it did seem like it was a pretty substantial change. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to figure all of that out as well and figure out, kind of, okay, what changed with the British government? Is that something that we can push the US government for? Does it make sense? But yeah, something changed there. Some folks that I've been talking to are pretty sure that it's because of, some agreements that we still have on the books with Russia. But again, I'm not an expert. I'm just the person that pushes all of the people to harass the government. Politely.
Indeed, politely. I think one of the things which might have changed is the French. The French were like, yeah, go for it. I'll scalp. Yeah, no problem. So because they're basically the same thing, just with different names, we kind of just went, oh yeah, we're getting involved with that. That and the fact that we are, of course, the main bastards. Genesis, man.
No, well said, Fockers. Yeah, we are the main bastards, and we have decided to be main bastards harder. That's all. I think so. We sort of said it and then didn't say it, if you know what I mean. We just kept it on the QT. Yeah, we'd like you to use these, but try not to get thrown over the border. And then, like Mocker said, political landscape changed, and we went, no, throw them wherever you like. We're happy with that. And I suspect that was a slight reaction, and please take this in the spirit it's meant, to the hiccup with the aid from the US, which was what I wanted to get onto, BR, actually. So I know you're talking about the next aid package at the end of the summer. Do we expect the same sort of fight again? I'm hoping not, but I'd love your take on it.
I mean, unfortunately, Genesis Man, I can't really answer that 100%. I expect everything to be a fight this year. So that's how I'm kind of looking at it, right? Is that regardless of whether or not we think that this aid package is going to be, a fast pass, we're gearing up to fight again. So I apologize in advance for being very annoying in the coming months on pushing everybody. But yeah, no, I mean, I think we're taking everything like it's a fight right now because of the political landscape, because of the election cycle. And if you've ever kind of experienced a US election cycle, it is extra crazy. Like if you guys thought we were crazy last year, strap in, folks. It's going to get nuts. The information space is going to be real muddy. So yeah, we've got our work cut out for us, I think, this year, as far as anybody that cares about Ukraine or what's going on in the world. Yeah, we're gonna have quite a fun year, and I say that sarcastically.
No, I got that, Booyah. So thank you for your input, and we'll be here to help you fight the fight, girl. Don't worry. Main bastards are going nowhere.
As a joyful US bastard, I salute you, Maine British bastards. Much love.
I love that we've all got our bastard title. And we all love it
Bastards
so
unite! Bastards, hold the line!
Absolutely. Iwana, my lovely, go ahead.
Thank you, Marcus. So I'm, well, apologizing for bringing this to a philosophical subject and semantics and use of language, pragmatics, things like this. But I think we have to establish if this is a war or not, because in a war you are allowed to target the other country. And I believe that in the Western mind, this is still not a war. It is an invasion, it is a special military operation, it is whatever it is. And the Russians were brilliant with this, calling it a special military operation and saying it's not a war. Because, you know, in our mind, not in ours here in MriyaReport, but in the Western mind, this is not quite a war, you know, and probably that's why they are so reluctant to target the Russian, you know, objectives, military objectives, whatever it is. It is a war, and Ukraine is allowed to do whatever it needs to win this war and to attract the Russian, you know, capacity. So yeah, maybe I don't know. This is a crazy idea, but maybe Ukraine should declare war to Russia. I know it's not funny because they will consider that it is Ukraine that did it first, because of course they didn't start the war; they just started a special military operation. But again, I would really love the input of Buya and Stephen and Genesis on this, because I think in the Western mind they are still thinking that this is the Slavic business there, and Russia, you know, Russia is allowed to destroy a city like Kharkiv, but Ukraine is not allowed to target troops that are 5 kilometers from the border, which is absolutely making no sense in a reasonable way of thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Genesis man, you go ahead, and I've just realised it's that time of swapping, isn't it? And I've got a 2-minute warning, so go ahead, Genesis man, and we'll say our goodbyes in a moment.
No, I just wanted to shout out to Iona. I think that's an absolutely fantastic geopolitical point, and it's probably something we should all talk to our representatives about. Stop treating it as a special military operation and start treating it as a war. What is the matter with you people? And in wars, you don't throw things out just to the fence, do you? You throw them over the fence. You lob them wherever you want. You hit them wherever you can, and as hard as you can, as often as you can. It's an absolutely fantastic point, Iona. Well done. And I think that may be the way to start framing our language, because language is really important at times like this. And I'm well, not quite so. I'm quite not that I agree with the bloke ever before, but I'm actually impressed with Cameron lately and his language about the war and the Russian threat. And I think all our politicians should start talking in this way. And I think things would change drastically if they so did. A brilliant point, Iona. Brilliant.
Booyah! Go ahead, my lovely.
Yeah. So I think maybe a crazy idea is like the people of the world declaring war on Russia. Like, let's not wait around for our governments. I think we've already declared war on Russia as individuals. So